All right, my mic is on. Going over to you guys. And I have a window in front of exactly where I need to go, which is always fun. All right, now you guys can be heard too, and we are live. Yay!
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and do my normal top of show spiel. Hi everybody, welcome to today's episode of Too Funny Feedback, yay! Episode 5. My name's Tom, and co-hosting the show with me is Liza. Tonight, each of our comedians will be performing a 5-minute set. After your set, Liza and I will be giving about 5 minutes of feedback, a little looser on that, but that's what we'll do before moving on to the next comic. That being said, we invite discussion during your allotted time. Any questions that you have in the moment, we're happy to give notes on, and if you have questions after the show, feel free to reach out to me at the email and or the contact us form on the website, and always happy to answer any more questions you guys have about the notes we give. So that's good. And to our audience, keep in mind as we get started that our intention is to help facilitate the growth of the comedians who come to us with varying levels of experience. Also, comedy is subjective, so you're probably not going to agree with everything me and Lisa say. Additionally, if you enjoyed the show and want to support the stream, please consider making a donation while watching at district-comedy.live. And if you can't tip for whatever reason, liking, sharing, subscribing to the District Comedy platforms also helps, and the link to all those can be found in the episode description. Now I'm done talking. Yay, we did it, guys. We made it. Okay, so let me just copy and paste my fake little DIY set list into the chat again. And unfortunately, you're the last one to come in the room, and we're just going to jump into it. But Desiree, we picked the set list this week with a little spinny wheel that nobody but me could see in order to determine the order. So, you are up first. Are you ready? Or do you feel confident jumping in?
That is just fine. I know you said last week to maybe try redoing some of the jokes that you gave me feedback on the week before, and I meant to go watch that meticulously, and then I didn't. So here is what I remember over the past 4 weeks.
Give it up for Desiree and what she remembers. Yay! Woo! Oh, what? Okay.
Hello. I think most of you know this, but I have to say it every couple of minutes or I will die. I am Canadian. Yeah, there's no joke there. Still, it's more of a humble brag still. But I am rooting for you, America. I really am. I'm also disabled. I don't know if that will come up in the set, but just in case it does, please know I use a wheelchair. Yeah. Over the holidays, I went to see my parents, and everything was going good. We have a bit of a strained relationship, but everything was going good. And then one night, my dad was like, "What's the deal with these defund the police people?" And then my mom appeared from the other room like a Batman villain and said, "Do not do this with her, Alan. You will not win." And then we sat down to dinner and everything was going well. And then unprovoked, my mom said, "What's pansexualism?" This is why you should not let your parents watch that show Schitt's Creek, even though Dan Levy is delightful. So myself and my sister explained it to her with our forks very close to our plates. And then my dad said, unprovoked, "There are too many genders these days. Where did they all come from?" And I said, "Well, Dad," and my mom said, "Shut up, I want to have a nice dinner." Yeah. I am Canadian, as I said before, and I really like doing mics with Americans because I'm learning so much about America. For example, did you all know New Jersey is a state? Because I sure didn't. Um, for most of my life, I thought it was a suburb of New York. Turns out I was getting it mixed up with Staten Island. I don't know very much about Staten Island, so I decided to Google it, and a tourism website with 13 interesting facts about Staten Island came up. And the best one, the most flattering, you guys, was they have the largest garbage dump in the U.S. Isn't the garbage something we're supposed to be hiding from the tourists? Like, I'm from Toronto, and on our tourism website, we talk about the lake and the Sky Dome and the CN Tower. We leave out the negative stuff. Like, we kind of have a homeless person problem, and there's no affordable housing. It's not very wheelchair accessible, and we're kind of mean for a Canadian city. Like, other Canadian cities do not like us, but you should come see us. I've also learned a lot about the food in America, mainly the Uncrustable. We don't have these in Canada, so it's like the frozen peanut butter sandwiches. I'm told it's very similar to the white trash cousin of the Pop-Tart or the red-headed stepchild of the pizza pocket. And America, wouldn't it be easier to make a peanut butter sandwich? Because with an Uncrustable, you have to thaw it and cook it and then eat it. It just seems like a lot of work. Recently, I did this joke and another comedian was like, no, you don't have to thaw it or cook it. You can just eat it frozen. And now I have more questions than I have answers. Because why are we paying money for the worst day of grade school when the ice pack fell on top of the sandwich? Why are we paying money for that, America? And then another comic was like, no, like, you don't eat it frozen. You just take it out of the fridge and let it thaw naturally. And now I have another question. Is it a friend or is it food? Because, like, what do you mean? You just take it out of the freezer, cuddle it, hold it close, sing it Tiny Dancer till the desired temperature you need. What I'm saying is I think Smucker's needs to be stopped between that and the Goober grape. There's a lot of talk about what's wrong with the U.S. these days or what happened. And quite frankly, as a person who only discovered New Jersey was a state about 6 weeks ago, I don't believe I have the right to an opinion. I believe it started with the invention of the Uncrustables. Thanks.
Woo, 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 woo!
Sorry, I know it's like 10 seconds over, maybe 20.
It's fine. It's not a, like, hard... I don't know why... Because you're not the first person to say that, and I'm like, at what point, like, in the course of doing these shows, did I come across as, like, this uber hard-ass that it's like...
You're not supposed to run the light. It's rude.
No, you're not, but, like...
To do it. No.
All right.
I like people to be my friend. So I do.
What are boundaries?
What are boundaries?
We don't have them.
All right. So
if it's okay, AJ, I think I'm gonna start, and then like it's gonna be me and Liza for a little bit, and then if we still have time, if you guys have notes, we'll go ahead and reach out to you. So I'm gonna start with the top of your set, and I think I know why you did this. Like, I feel like you have a basin of material that you can pull from, and it's all good, and, like, incorporating it, like, kind of on the fly does give your set a good organic feel, but this time I feel like it may have hurt you a little bit just because you mentioned the Canadian thing at the top, and then you didn't go straight into the Canadian material, so you had to, like, bring it back again later in the set.
True.
So I just think, like, it's not necessarily bad, but it's, like, it could be a better use of your time.
Yes.
And then, it was kind of interesting. I I am glad that the norm is like longer than 5 minutes, because on the other side of that was like you then like mentioned being disabled and then none of your material was about that, which like I'm totally fine with. But it's like didn't even you didn't even necessarily
Sometimes
have to. I don't mind.
Sometimes we get there, and then sometimes we don't.
That is true. But I really appreciated, and I think it was effective that you took the note that we gave last time about picking the one joke for your mom coming into the room. And it almost then left room for a tag afterwards if you wanted in the same theme. Like just something that popped into my head. Not like a fully formed joke or anything, but like came into the room like a Batman villain, and like maybe like one other thing as far as like a comparison of how it was similar to the Batman universe. I also have to remember not to click my pen because it's right next to my microphone, and I got a note. I got a note from that from somebody watching. The only person who watches, my fiance. But anyway, and then similarly, I like the joke about pansexualism, especially because like one of the subtle things is like you normally like don't necessarily put ism as a suffix on that word, which I think could be fun to play with, like I don't know, pansexualism, like realism, like it's an art form, not that, because that's not funny, but like pick a funny thing to do with that. You can if you want. I loved the David Levy mention. I think it's very topical since it was just on the SNL episode as a guest. And for some reason, I think shut up and have a nice dinner, like from your mom, is just uber relatable. I already mentioned the thing about having to go back to talking about Canadian to talk about the New York stuff, but what I noticed about that bit this time that I really like is that what you do something really smart, which is you start off with, you know, humble brag because I'm Canadian and like things are rough in America right now. But the way that like you've set it up so that you don't lose any of the Americans of the audience, and if anything, I'm mentioning it so that other people can appreciate it, maybe like steal the concept for their own stuff, is that you then go on to list some negative things about Canada to kind of be analogous with that.
Specifically
Toronto and the homeless. But that's it. That's it from me.
All right. Well, thank you, Desiree. I always love your stuff. I think you, it seemed, and tell me if I'm wrong. My impression is you took everything, like all of the notes, and you made it one set, right? So I feel like there was a lot of great stuff. I just wasn't used to the path you took, if that makes sense. So, and I think that was you doing like essentially a workshop of like, hey, these are all the things they've given us. I'm going to try and create that set for that. And I love all the stuff. What I'm used to, and I think this is the only thing for me, this is more of an overall like idea about it, was that I love you. Part of what I love about your comedy is that like you're so, like I say, joyous and smiley, and like, and then you land us with like something that takes us. It's like a contradiction. Like I didn't expect that out of her. Like, you know, when you're like a Batman villain, or you know, like phrases, or you know, when you're doing your impression of your parents, or you know, something like that, where you start saying something a little bit like, oh wow, like poking at that, which is fun. I think that I would take that. I love having that sort of rhythm, so that when you do get to that story about your parents, I'm sort of like, oh, it's such a different level, if that makes sense. I feel like tonight, not that all the elements weren't there, but I feel like there's such a, like, you're making me laugh, you're making me feel good. And then when we get to that when you do all the impressions of your family, it's such a different energy and levels that it brings a lot to it. Does that make sense? And I feel like maybe where it was positioned, I don't get like the, oh, wow, like, you know, the whole impression of your family. I feel like it might be more effective later in the set. Does that make sense?
I usually do that joke at the end.
Yes. And I think I like that placement better, but that's me.
Okay. Okay.
where you think it fits, because I think like the whole Canada thing, you can go in the beginning, because I always love your beginnings. I always think you have a great way of welcoming the audience in and introducing yourself. I think that's one of your like your good straight strong points always. Like I think that you're just so fabulous as like we all are like your friend. You're our Canadian friend, and I think that's one of the best things. So I love that. And I always want you to keep that personally. So I love that, like, and I'm rooting for you, all those things that like like I'm rooting for you. America always gets me because we need someone to root for us besides us. And
You really do.
you do. But I just think that's the one thing that seemed more noticeable to me during this set. And then just adding a hair second more in other things we've seen of just asking the question and letting it land, just giving it a half second more to land. Does that make sense? And I think that was part of you trying to get in all of the stuff before the 5 minutes, which you're very conscientious about, which we really appreciate. But I think that was so it didn't have the same rhythm where you ask the question and gives it a second to land, so that we all kind of are in on the joke with you at that moment. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I love it. Okay, I love the word. Is it goober grape?
Yeah, that's a real product.
I know, and I think it's a funny word. I think you have a panache for picking out really funny words, but like placing them in like a regular sentence. Like I think I love that. I guess part of what I think about your, I'm going to say it, POV, point of view, is you're just so warm and welcoming and fun, and then you come out with these amazing thoughts that are they just make me like, they make you giggle or guffaw in a way that I just truly enjoy. Another thing that came to mind is Schitt's Creek. Aren't they Canadian?
Yes.
I don't know if you want to bring that up or if that ties in or if that's useful or not, but I always think like you could give a shout out to who, you're Canadian too. I don't know if you want to, but that just came across my head. And then, but that was pretty much it. I mean, I love I love your material. I love the Uncrustables. Did you do the unveiling, the unboxing?
That's Thursday.
Oh, I didn't miss it.
Well, let me tell the audience because they may not
anyway.
know. But just so it's not coming out of nowhere, Desiree learned about Uncrustables through the TB&J open mic. That's correct, right, Desiree? I mean, we've all definitely heard of like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before that. But yeah, so made it happen and shipped Desiree some Uncrustables, and she's gonna unbox them on Thursday at the TB&J open mic if anyone wants to check that out. But we are going to move on from Uncrustables on to our next comic. Unless there's anything you wanted to respond with, Desiree?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, cool. Next up, coming to us all the way from Ireland. It's 2 a.m. his time, but he's gonna bring that 2 a.m. energy. Is it?
Still 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's 1:48.
Yeah, 1:48.
Pretty close.
Let's give it up for John O'Keefe. Woo, 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 woo.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Hello. Hope you can hear me okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Woo.
Okay, good. So here's the thing. I don't like the happy birthday song because I think it sounds sarcastic. Do you know what I mean? It's like, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, you dickhead. You know, after a certain age, it's traumatic. Like, what? You're going to sing that to someone who's been through a divorce? You're lucky you don't get punched in the head. Don't even get me started on he's a jolly good fellow. You know what I mean? Insult to injury. Like, maybe I've put on a little bit of weight. Like, I don't appreciate your fucking candor. It's 2021 as well. Maybe it could be for she's a perfectly lovely person. You know what I mean? And we respect her. I don't know. This is just thoughts. The Germans have an interesting take on the happy birthday song. They have a fun little game. They go, happy birthday to you, marmalade in the shoe, apricot in your trousers, and with a brat first. Incredible people, the Germans. Devilish humor. My girlfriend's German, that's how I know that. So lockdown's been hard. I think that's pretty clear. I got an email from Google the other day. My Google timeline for January. Never got this before. It said cities visited 1, places visited 2, highlights super value. And I was like, that's harsh but fair. It was actually entertaining to see human sadness graphed. You know what I mean? I thought that was interesting. And every day, you know, how creepy is that though? Google are tracking me with my consent. Like, because every day Google just goes like, can we track this? And we go, yes, come on already. And then we get angry about it afterwards. It's like, fuck you, Google. You should mention this in the terms and conditions I've never read. Okay, so this is a true story, and I'm a bit embarrassed to tell it, but fuck it, who cares? This is going on the internet, right?
Yeah.
My girlfriend was sitting on the couch over there the other day, and we got a bit mad from lockdown because we're in our third lockdown here. And so she's looking at me, I'm looking at her. We're a little bit giddy, and she goes, I think I can see your testicles in the pajamas. And she goes, I want to feel them. Can I feel them? So without missing a beat, I just pulled down her pajama bottoms that I've been wearing for several weeks now. And she starts touching my balls, and I start dangling them for her. And then she looks at me for a second, and she goes, John, what are we doing? And I said, baby, we're checking for the dangle. And my girlfriend is probably the craziest person I've ever met in my life. So if that was too much for her, maybe we've crossed the line. I don't know. Like, what's going to happen next year? His and her prostate exams? Or is she going to blow into my anus to see if it whistles? I mean, I don't know. Am I going to let her? I don't know. My girlfriend works for Twitter. Don't know if you've heard of it. Bluebird, lots of angry customers. Propaganda machine for the White House. And every couple of weeks, she gets this incredible swag package, like ribbons and bows, immaculately packaged. It's got all boutique and pens and cups and squeezy balls. The thing is, Twitter's a better boyfriend than me. 'Cause every time I go to the shops, I'm bringing back pens and notebooks, and she's like, yeah, but Twitter puts the little birds on everything. They actually make the effort. You don't even make this yourself. Although she got a swag package this week, and I think Twitter dropped the ball because she was very disappointed, very unhappy. And I was like, what's wrong? And she was almost in tears. She was like, Christina's team got Converse. We only got this weird fucking dinosaur, which I'm going to show to you now. She was in tears over this dinosaur. And I said to her, I said, baby, it's the thought that counts. And she went, fuck that. I wanted Converse. So she's been spoiled by Twitter. I talk about my girlfriend a lot. I'll finish on this. I talk about my girlfriend a lot because she's very funny. But she said this to me. She goes, you know, you're always talking about me on stage. You should pay me for this. And I said, baby, if I ever become a well-known comedian, you'll be a really famous part of my set. Kind of like John Mulaney's dog. Well, she didn't appreciate that comment. I said, Petunia's a delight. She has her own Instagram. Anyway, I think I'm going to finish there, guys. Thanks again for listening to me, John O'Keefe.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Yay. Awesome. Thank you. I don't know why I didn't switch it back to gallery. I should have done that first. Anyway, not looking at your face anymore. Okay, let's jump into it. I really liked Sarcastic Birthday. I think you can emphasize it more with the line, Happy Birthday, dear blank, or whatever. Just because it's like, who you calling dear? Seems like it would be in the similar theme, but I really like the premise of that. And then, you didn't go where I thought you were going to go with the Jolly Good Fellow, which I thought was really fun. But like, yeah, it is kind of a gendered song, and we should be jolly good people. So that was fun. I think that I really liked your Google timeline stuff, partly because the librarian stuff, we're always dealing with metadata, and we talk about Google because it's like, is it open source? Is it free? Because they're buying your information. Anyway, the only thing is, I wonder if you would want to go from Google to Twitter to dangling balls. That was my main order for the set, and maybe that's like partly valid because you're putting similar topics together. Maybe it's partly because I just have like OCD that way where I want the things that are similar to go together. But that I would consider as far as like just a way to rearrange the set. I liked, speaking of Twitter, I'm probably not going to talk about dangly balls a lot because I feel like that joke doesn't need any work. I feel like that's a home run for me. I think that's really funny because that was exactly what I was thinking when you then said, maybe we've gone too far. And I was just like, yep. Because I feel like we also all have those crazy moments with our significant other, where that's why we like them, because they're crazy. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to talk about it, and then I talked about it. Anyway, Twitter being a better boyfriend than me, I thought was a really strong premise, and I think that if you wanted, you have the room just because of the time of year, if you wanted to do some kind of allusion to how Twitter dropped the ball for Valentine's Day. I'd like to hear something along those lines, just because that's what's going on right now, and then, I don't know, cut it when it's not Valentine's Day. Also, I'm a hack, so I think if we're near a holiday at some time in the year, you have to mention it in your set. But that's it from me. Take it away, Liza.
Well, I love the energy, getting right in there right away. And I love the whole happy birthday thing. And because I love that you said it was lockdown has been hard. Like you recorded, like all of that was just to like prove that point in some ways. So I thought that was like a way to have a lot of little jokes that had like a button with it. I appreciated that. And always good dig on Germans. Yes, no. I love that you're taking the stuff that your subject matter is stuff that we are all really relatable to right now, especially we're all in that situation. We can all relate. So I think you're finding really great moments on how to expound on that and welcome us into your world, even if it can get graphic, if you're if for about the balls, but who hasn't been there, right? Right. So, right? Right. Anyway. But so I appreciated, I really did. I hope your girlfriend, I like want to meet her now. But basically, I think that all the things you hit on, and you did a really good way of building on them, and another thing that all tied in with like sort of a theme about the things we've managed, or the tools we use via lockdown in our virtual world. Graphing human sadness was awesome. I think that was a really good point. I was like, you're right. My phone does that to me too, and things. And the whole Google thing of terms that in red, like you have a really good way of having a good rhythm and then dropping it again, like dropping a little like segue kind of, and we button up that joke. I will let you know, there was a couple times that your screen did this when you touched, so it moved. Because sure. You know me, I'm talking about like, so I think you're still doing really great grounding with the mic. There was nose and face touching a lot, but it didn't necessarily take away. I just wanted to make sure there was one moment I want to be like, just being aware of it, like I say, making everything a choice, because we can manipulate this little box as much as we want. I loved your prop use, by the way. I love that I got to see that dinosaur.
I told her like, you're never seeing this dinosaur again. If that joke works, this is coming with me forever.
Well, and also like if it just brings on such sadness for her, you're doing her a favor, aren't you? She'll just be reminded of the Converse she never got. So but I love that you have, and I think that the whole Twitter thing, as Thomas said, really is a great subject to expound on. Like there's a treasure trove of material there. So I think that was a lot of fun, but those are the major points I had. I think that it was a really succinct set. It's all material. I know we hadn't heard before either, that and just I liked how it linked together. I would just be aware of the camera moving, and I think you did great prop use. I think you're really grounded with the mic, which I enjoy. And then just being aware of the other hand, what it's doing at times.
Of course,
but, thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks for the feedback and all the encouraging words. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and give you the same assignment we gave Desiree, because I feel like part of it is also, I appreciate that you come up with new stuff every week. I want to see how you implement the notes, and I also have a theory that I think like the first time, and I do this too, but like the first time I tell jokes that I've just written, I feel like they always go over better because it's like fresh to me. So I share that. So try some of the same material again, try and keep that freshness, and try and implement the notes.
That makes sense.
But yeah, this the content this week was a home run for me.
Cool. I'll try to bed back in some older stuff from earlier weeks and see how it goes with the feedback.
Yay! Cool. Awesome.
Right, cheers. Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem. Up next, I'm looking in the chat because I was told how to pronounce their name. Please give it up. The first time on the Too Funny Feedback mic, give it up for Kyle Petrila. Woo! I'm sorry, I got a little scared because I was like, I hope I said it right, but yay, Kyle Petrila!
So thank you for coming to the premiere of the low-budget Aquaman sequel. But yeah. So I've been on, this is my second lockdown, a few months in. You know, what I'm trying to refer to is how non-essential I am. Like, I haven't been referred to non-essential this much since like my 10th birthday. And you know, like, dads can be rough. But see, don't worry, that's just a joke. I don't remember him being at any of my birthdays. But like most kids, I grew up thinking my dad was like Superman, right? You know, he wasn't really great at anything, but he did wear his underwear on the outside, so yeah. But you know, with this whole social distancing thing, right? Like, anybody have friends that they feel like got the heads up? Because like some of my friends have been distancing for years. I love Zoom comedy because like you can have your notes and nobody will ever see. Yeah. I had a friend and she wore a cross because of religion, right? And I was thinking, like, isn't that what they used to kill Jesus? Like, I know because I have the same stylist, right? So if wearing a cross for Jesus is like, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like wearing a golden toilet seat for your Elvis fan, right? Or a syringe, where that's just fucking confusing. All right. So I've been trying to lose some weight because of like my multiple lockdown and lack of moving. And you know, the first thing you do, it's like, oh, I'll eat something healthy. And what comes at the first letter of the alphabet? Apples, you know? But I feel like they have a really good publicist, because when in history have apples ever been good? You know? Adam and Eve, that kind of fucked us. Sir Isaac Newton would have figured out gravity some other way. Snow White ate an apple, went into a coma, had to get Me Too'd to wake up. You know, not good for her. But there was no implied consent. All right. I was watching, so, you know, I got a lot of time on my hands. So I watched Game of Thrones because, you know, when every character looks like you might as well give it a shot. And, like, I couldn't imagine, like, wasting 10 years and being disappointed with the ending, because that's more of a relationship thing. But, you know, it did teach me some things. Like, you know, I also refer to my hand as a sword hand. There was a character in it who had, I guess he started with a wife, and then he had daughters who became wives and had more daughters, had more, and so on and so forth. And that's just the clearest explanation of compound interest I've ever heard. Also, even the most worthless bastard can become king, you know? So there's still hope for you, Dad. But, so, I have some new ones that I'll just throw in because I seem to have some time. Like last night, I've come to learn that, like, I feel like I've come to learn some more about women, because I woke up the other night being suffocated by my own hair. I don't know if that's a common thing or just me, but anyways. I also learned more about Martin Luther King, because I too had a dream. Anyways, so my name is Kyle, and growing up, it's not like there's a lot of like famous Kyles, you know? Like, so, you know, in grade like 7 or 8, I think it was, people started singing "Kyle's Mom's a Bitch" to me. And I hadn't seen the episode of South Park yet, so like I was very confused, because all I could wonder is, like, how did these people have the time to meet my mom? All right, that's it for me. Thanks.
Whoa, 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 Keep it going for
Nice.
Kyle. Petrila.
It's good. You're right. You're right. I just didn't want to.
Okay, good. I was
interrupt
given
my-
clear instructions, and I like to confirm that I have met expectations. Anyway, so jumping into it, I think we're in a weird place, but depending on what your intention is, just, try and think of how some of your jokes in the beginning, how the concept or the premise or I guess the jokes themselves can be adjusted so that you'll be able to take them to live mics when things start to open up again. I think that right now I don't know if it'll all be able to transfer, especially the stuff that's specific to the background. But going off the assumption that at least for a while we'll be doing Zoom comedy, I wonder if there's a way to pair the Aquaman joke with the Superman joke you make later, because I think you had one in between that broke it up a little bit, so I'd rather have them together for similar OCD reasons, as I said with John. And then I really liked friends who've been social distancing for years. I thought that as far as Zoom comedy goes, you did something that I haven't seen before, which is the peekaboo act with the notepad, which I thought was very on the nose, and I thought was kind of attributing to your overall style, which is and please correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just a cursory glance, but self-aware and a little bit sad. But I liked it, and it was fun. Again, I hadn't seen it before. And then, oh yeah, so I think we gotta find a smoother segue into talking to the cross and Jesus. I think the bit is fine and the bit is good, but just how we transition into it so it doesn't relate. And I feel like part of that isn't your fault. It's a 5-minute set, and it's hard because, you want to put some of your best stuff out there so that you can get feedback on it. But then sometimes what happens is you end up touching on a lot of different topics within 5 minutes, and it can be kind of hard to, get a focus.
Well, I was just talking about my distanced friend. That's kind of how I tie it in.
Oh, okay.
The Aquaman thing I've been doing well before lockdown. I just have a screen now.
Oh, you have a screen now? Great.
Yeah, because he has the look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people.
Looks a
I
lot
usually
like
just
Aquaman.
start with. It's not that I'm not happy to be here. I just thought starring in Aquaman would have done better for my career.
Perfect. So you're already ready for
You already got it.
going into the live stuff. Awesome.
Awesome.
Okay. I thought the Disney stuff was really funny. I feel like that's something a lot of people appreciate, is acknowledging the ways that Disney movies are kind of a little bit fucked up. The Game of Thrones stuff, again, I thought was very self-aware, and disappointing. A relationship stood out to me as a particularly strong part of that. And then the one thing I would say is you had a good ladder of analogies to go with Game of Thrones. And then the only one where I wish I had seen clearer the way it related back to you was the Game of Thrones and compound interest. Because the other ones you related back to you personally. And then otherwise, I appreciated kind of when you ran out of prepared material at the end. I think that provides a little bit of an honesty, a little bit of genuineness. Not that you weren't being genuine before, but there's just something when people just start riffing, where they either stifle up a lot and get nervous, or they kind of embrace it, and then it feels like you're having a real conversation with them, which is the way that it went, which is good. So that's it from me. Take it away, Lisa.
Hey, Kyle. I really enjoyed your set. I really love that you embrace the look and you go for it. I think that's awesome. I love that you can work it both ways because I was like, I'm a big proponent, and Desiree will know this. Like, I love, like, I talk about the box and you have complete control over it. And that's something that you don't have when you're normally in the club, like where you're doing a set standing up out in front of whatever. That I love that you really took advantage of it in every way you could. That I loved. This is me. I love a good prop. As I just said, that was awesome. I loved the notebook thing, and I like that you pulled it back up because it also got me thinking. Like, is he going to do a comedy rule of 3 kind of thing, where like it's something else the next time? You know what I mean? Like it could be a tiny book. I don't even know. Like you can change it up. Like you can make it like something ridiculous. You know, you could even play with that. Because you've already set sort of an expectation because when you brought it in the second time, but I loved that. I thought that was awesome. And I really, just how you were like non-essential. I really love that. And I'm going to say it again, Desiree, we're going to count. I'm going to just start doing a count for this. Like POV, like you have a strong point of view. Of like, you know who you are, you know where you're coming in, and and you're embracing that, which I always think is part of the reason I feel like all of the comics on here have a really strong sense of self and knowing that and embrace that, whatever they come in with that point of view. And it's evident from the moment you start because you're already taking a background and emphasizing it. Like and I mean, the whole time I was like, oh my God, Jason Momoa, like you just can't stop thinking that. So of course you're going to embrace it. The great, you probably said under, I personally, and this is Tom and I don't always agree, even though most of the time we do. I liked that you didn't have the Superman thing later on, like about the underwear joke. I liked that it was in a separate place personally, because I felt like it kind of brought me back. It sort of circled back to that and tied it in better, but that's me. And that's why we're here. It's a workshop. It's like how you think about it. Because to me, it was like, oh yeah, it ties back to that. I thought that was clever. I do like the syringe Jesus bit. I'm Catholic, or was raised Catholic, and so like I've always thought it was kind of morbid that we have like the dead guys are so basically I like that you brought that up, and like I've never thought about the Elvis and like the toilet, like yeah, like you could go someplace with that. So I think that you can have more room to land with that, and or a syringe, like that's messed up, or you go with it in different ways of like deaths and the last thing, I think
I had a elevator for Prince because he died in an elevator and was there for a while, and then but it doesn't always go over, and then
you have a lot of topical specific things that like if no one's ever seen Game of Thrones, they're going to be out. Like I think that's something you just have to be, I mean, I know you're probably aware of it, but just the idea of like, if someone hasn't watched Game of Thrones, they're not going to be there. I know most people have, but that's a long segment to not have people have a reference for, if that makes sense.
I feel like I describe it enough that they kind of get it usually.
You do, and everyone knows the culture of it a bit. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like they know the different things, like a sword's hand. I love that. That was funny. The relationship bit was great. I do loved the whole, I'm working backwards. I apologize. I'm jumping around. The Apple bit. They have a great publicist. And I was like, what? And then how you explained that. And I think you can take like the Adam and Eve and things. I loved the Snow White, the Me Too. There's no implied consent that I was personally. And as a female, the saying like, not that it would be, but like, we talk about that whole movement and how it, affected. I think it's funny and it works. Compound interest. I liked that, but that's a thinker. It's funny because you have all these sort of obvious like gags about your appearance or things, but then you have a lot of little thinkers that drop in there, which I appreciate. I think it creates levels. The dad jokes would say nice. What does it say? Forget the paper again. The hair thing, that was awesome. I do think the riffing. I understand what Tom was talking about, how there's a sense of just like when it was new material, you're like, I'm just gonna try it. I liked that sense of energy and sort of like spontaneity it brought to it, and I think that not that you don't have a great rhythm and stuff, but you can having that type of adding maybe some new material within the older stuff that so well might level, change up the rhythm or give more spontaneity in between. Not that you weren't delivering the jokes well and they weren't landing, but you know what I'm talking about right there. Just a little bit of, because when we get so used to the same material, which is very, very funny, mixing it up sometimes helps us keep the material fresh for us too.
Yeah.
So, but thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Keep it going for Kyle. We're going to move on to our next comic. Next up on our list, we have the guy who I think that's Dung Bell in his background. Not sure. But it's also his first time on the mic. So welcome to Ryan Zeitz. Woo 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 woo.
Hey everyone, I'm also from Canada, but contrary to popular belief, we don't hate Americans. Well, other than the 74 million of you, we know who we're talking about. We also don't think you're handling the pandemic too well. But pandemic's killing us all. I lost my job to COVID. Back in the before times, I used to work in a restaurant. And honestly, there's nothing more embarrassing than working in a restaurant where you as an employee can't afford the food on the menu. Fuck you, McDonald's. Yeah, the pandemic's been pretty hard. Not only did I lose my job, I also struggle with mental illness. I'm bipolar. And earlier last summer, I tried to commit suicide. And, when I say that, sometimes people get a little freaked out. It makes everybody a little uncomfortable. But honestly, the day that I don't make a suicide joke means I was successful. So it's a good thing I'm doing this. I tried hanging myself, but as it turns out, I'm so thankful to my parents, they never put me in Boy Scouts. So I had no idea what I was doing. Also, hanging yourself is so difficult too. Like, you have to like find a load-bearing beam in the ceiling. You got to measure the rope to make sure that it's long enough that it breaks your neck and doesn't suffocate you. And you all thought you'd never use grade 10 math again. But, it was hard, And I thought suicide was supposed to be the easy way out. But but then, obviously that didn't work. So my next plan, I went to the kitchen, found the biggest knife I could find. And my plan was to plunge it through my chest. But what stopped me was I thought of my poor mother. Of her just waking up in the morning, walking into the kitchen and just seeing me in a pool of my own blood. My poor mother, I know how much she hates mopping. So I had to put the kibosh on that one. It was at this point I realized, it's probably a good idea. I checked myself into a mental hospital. I went to CAMH for the Canadians. And the second I got there, they pumped me so full of lithium I could power a fucking Tesla. They also took away my shoelaces, which makes no sense to me because I haven't even mastered bunny ears, so I don't know what they thought I was going to do with them. But a lot better, time this time than the last time I went to the hospital for suicide. The first time I tried going to the hospital for suicidal ideation, they actually kicked me out. They wouldn't admit me. They said I didn't have enough of a plan. All I thought to myself, excuse me, I'm trying to kill myself, not applying for a business loan. What do you mean I don't have enough of a plan? But this time around was a lot nicer. Unfortunately, the lithium didn't take very well. So they diagnosed me with what's known as medication-resistant depression, which is a fancy way of saying I wanted to kill myself, but I don't support Big Pharma. So the last ditch kind of effort, the last treatment that they give you is something known as ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. You guys at home might know this as shock therapy. And when I say that, it is a little shocking to some people. Whoa, like, isn't that like torture? Did they torture you? That's like going to the electric chair. And there's a lot of differences between shock therapy and the electric chair, but I think the biggest one is who you tried to kill. But so, and then other people, they say to me, Ryan, like, aren't you afraid of the memory loss? Like, that is a very common symptom. There's a lot of memory loss, but I'm not too beat up about it. They couldn't have been great memories anyways, because, I tried to kill myself. So anyways, I got 28 seconds. I'm not going to try another joke. just so you guys all know, I'm okay. I'm doing well. This is how I cope with it. And I'm trying to, maybe even provide a little bit of education too in some fun, mental health suicide humor. So that's it for me. Thanks, guys.
Whoa. Give it up for... I'm sorry.
Ryan.
I know his name. I was on the border of saying, give it up for suicide. But that's not appropriate.
Oh no, I almost wish you would have.
Well, it ended up coming out in one way or another. I'll just jump into it now, though. I thought it was a very strong set. I thought that you did the opposite of what I was saying before, as far as like you were able to really dig into one topic the entire time, and it didn't get old. And like kind of two topics, because it was like Canadian mixed with suicide, but I thought it was all in the same line, and I thought it was great, and there were a lot of like different twists to it. The Boy Scouts, the bunny ears, for some reason, I think it's just because I'm tired, my brain took an extra second to get to the lithium joke, but it got there eventually, and I really appreciated the kind of disclosure that you had before you got too deep into it. I think that's important, because then it gives people a chance, if they are uncomfortable with that sort of material, to kind of walk out of the room or turn off their computer or whatever it is. So I appreciated that you gave people that chance. Oh my god. I mean, there's so many great little gems in here, especially like the one that stood out to me was like, because I didn't have enough of a plan, like applying for a business grant. I think that there's just like so much to be said for it's like, God, I'm gonna start planning now or whatever. But and then the one where I think I know why it's there, but maybe we don't have to go so dark, is because you have the contrast joke of when you're like describing the horribly graphic scene that your mother's walking into, and then the twist of like we find out she's not upset about you being dead, but about how she has to mop. I wonder if there's a different way we can go dark, or if there's a way we can go slightly less dark, because that was the only point in your set where I was like, I'm a little sad. Which for having a set about suicide is overall still really good. There was a sneaky little pun about shocking when you were talking about the convulsive therapy. And then I think you had a good ending too. Like, I think people appreciate knowing that you are doing okay now and it is just jokes. I wonder if there's a way we can keep that and also have like one last little zinger in the end to like punctuate the whole set. That's it for me.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Well, I guess one question I have about that is like you had said at the beginning, like that I gave a little bit of a disclaimer, like that's something that I'm also like really worried, especially even like going into the the after times, like going on stage and stuff. That's something that like I kind of want that to be a pretty big marquee of the types of jokes that I want to, like, obviously I'm not going to do like a half hour on suicide, although I mean Gary Gulman with the Great Depression,
Mm-hmm.
like that was really inspirational watching that, and that's kind of what inspired me to write jokes like this. But yeah, like what I mean, if you have any other suggestions on how to like kind of ease into it a little bit, because I know it can get a little like it's hard to massage and maneuver with that.
I think for 5 minutes is hard too, because if we were going for like a longer set length, like 7 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, you would kind of have more room to have more, I guess, like a couple of more generally appealing jokes. Like even in this set though, like you had before you got into the suicide stuff was like the stuff about Canada and the 74 million. That's kind of the road you want to take, is like have a couple jokes that everybody can enjoy, then the disclaimer, and and then going into your material, and kind of that kind of ties into the note I gave about like kind of ending the set with a joke too, is it goes back to that whole like bookending concept we talk about. So I think that as long as you give the disclaimer and it's long enough that people can actually react to it, which I think the way you did it just now was, like if I was in a comedy club, the amount of time that it took for you to give me the disclaimer was enough time for me to walk out of the room, you know? So I thought that was fine. So I don't have a suggestion.
I really like it how you just. I love that. This is a hard subject to talk about, but I feel like you doing this makes it accessible that people, as much as we're laughing, that it's actually, and you say going to get all spiritual, but it's kind of healing. Like you get to create a space where like this is really tough subject, and for someone who has such a personal experience as sharing it, I almost feel as like you make it okay to talk about it, and that is awesome. And I really enjoyed that. That's going to be a result of this type of set in comedy, because I mean we talk about literally pretty much everything else in comedy. We make, you know, like people point fun at everything, and it's because it's a dark subject for a lot of people, you know, but you're here to talk about it in a way that that makes a conversation, you know, and that makes it like you're taking the taboo of talking about it or acknowledging it, and I think that's awesome. So, and I like that you go at it at all very aspects, like but Boy Scout and that you know, the bunny ears or enough of a plan, like all of these are a great way of just coming at it different angles and sort of informing us at the same time. If we don't have any point of contact on that subject in our life, like you really do bring it in so that everyone can sort of laugh at it in a way that is acceptable yet also inviting, if that makes sense. So this is more of a specific thing, like your background makes me want to go, where are you? Like I really, really want to know. I see one little dumbbell sticking out and I'm kind of like, but you're like, it's like you're in this void.
Oh no, I froze. Oh no, I froze. I missed all of that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. So saying
It's
that
saying my internet connection is unstable.
Canada, man. I'm kidding. That you guys need to I just want to know where you were. Like it was this void of space. I wasn't sure if it's like, and everything I think is a choice. Like, yes, I'm choosing to have bad lighting in my closet. That's actually the only place my 7-year-old can't get to me. She does have another parent taking care of her, but that's why this is my choice. But what is your choice for your comedy? Like I was like so curious, like the dumbbell just sticking out, like either there's just like a hint and I'm like, where are you? I want to know more. Right? Yeah. So I don't know, like if that's a choice to be sort of in void, because that's kind of entering a subject matter that is not really, you know, typically talked about. Maybe that's the choice. I just don't know if it is at that point, because we give that like one little thing sticking out. I'm always like, so it at moments it took my thought from what you were saying just slightly, but at seconds. Does that make sense? I'm here more about
100%.
I loved the whole who you try to kill, like kind of thing, and stuff. Like there are thinkers in there too, so like I just enjoyed all of that and how you went through it. But I just want you to think about if the choice back here. But that's really mostly I had. This is an idea, I don't know, there's a lot of Canada versus American sort of things going on, is that, and I do appreciate that. Is Canadian, like, I know this, God, I feel bad. Like, this is so funny because you're talking about suicide, me making a humorous joke about suicide. Is Canadian suicide nicer than American suicide? No. I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's a joke in there.
Canceled, Lisa.
You say sorry a lot in the note.
I don't know.
No.
Sorry. Did I go? But like, I was just trying to like.
No, that was funny.
Right.
That was good.
A great note.
But thank you. Very much.
All right. Awesome. Great. Moving on. Next up, we have on the list, he's got stuff in his background. I'm really excited to hear his comedy because one of them's a minion and one of them's smiley face something. Give it up for Sam Taha. Woo, 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 woo.
Hello. Hello, you guys. I'm Sam. I'm from Egypt, but there will be zero Egypt material in my set today. I have two idiots inside my head. One is a naive Zen master, and the other one is a gullible buffoon. So I would have days where I have epiphanies like, oh, it's not a train of thought, it's a train station of thoughts. You just sit in the station, watch all your stupid ideas go by, and don't get on the train. Don't get on the train. And then on other days, I'll be like, we'll get on every train, befriend the conductor, go out with him for tea, and meet his family. Then get to the end of the line to catch the self-deprecating train back to self-loathingville, where our national anthem is like, we're gonna die alone. I discovered invisibility, real life invisibility. And you can have it too. All you have to do is download any dating app, go to your settings, change your height to 5'7" or below, and poof, you disappear. Valentine is coming up. I'm 36. I'm single. I've been single for the last 36 years. I think it's a great thing that our bodies can't tell the difference between sex and masturbation. Because I haven't had sex in 3 years. But from my body's point of view, we have repopulated Earth. A couple of times by now. Like my testicles think that there should be a golden statue of them in a public square with a plaque that reads, "Here lies the noble testicles that saved the human race." If only they knew. Yeah, no sex in 3 years. And when you haven't seen nipples aside from your own for that long of a time, nipples become like the rings of Saturn. I can only see that online or with a telescope. My neighbors are hot. I just suck at being single. I suck at being single because I'm a terrible salesman. Because I know exactly what's wrong with the product and I can't wait to tell you about it. Can't wait. I can't dance. I don't know how to flirt. I've been to Vegas 3 times and could not get laid. It's not just that I don't have game. I don't even have the console that the game is played on. Like, what is this, a PlayStation? I have a floppy disk. And I never had a chance. I grew up Muslim and fat. I went to an old boys Islamic high school where we used to debate the existence of girls as if we're talking about Sasquatch. Then I went to engineering school where the Sasquatch debate continued mathematically. We could neither prove or deny the existence of such creatures. When I lost my virginity the first time, I was 27. Yeah, 27. And hey, don't judge me. I'm a loser in your culture. I'm a hero in mine. I come from a culture where nobody understood what was funny about the title of the movie, the 40-year-old version. They were like, what? He didn't find a good Muslim woman or an apartment on time? That's not really a comedy. That's a documentary in my culture. I remember the exact date I lost my virginity, and this is a true story. I lost my virginity on May 2nd, 2011. For the history buffs out there, this also happens to be the same day they killed bin Laden. Coincidence? I don't think so. Because the first time I kissed a girl was on the 11th of September. I don't know how to end that joke. And I was very religious back then. So as I woke up from my night of sin in the fetal position, all I can think about was like, oh, I'm not just going to hell. I'm going to hell with bin Laden. In my head, Judgment Day was going to be like, okay, bin Laden, you have killed and terrorized a lot of innocent people, and you are hereby condemned to eternity in hell with Sam who had sex one time. And that's my time. Thank you so much, you guys.
Cool, cool, cool. Give it up. Give it up for that time. I don't know why I did forget. I'm so tired, guys. I'm so sorry if I forget people's names. It's been a long day. Sam Taha. Woo, 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 woo! Okay, so jumping into it, a lot of things that I liked about your set. I think that when you start off, you can just jump straight into the I have two different personalities, Zen Master and Global Buffoon, and then not mention the being in Egypt stuff if you're not going to mention it. Or if you're going to talk about your culture like you did later in the set, you can mention it then. But at the top of your set saying that just because it didn't relate to the train joke, it made me wonder, like, why then? I loved the in real life invisibility joke. The whole height thing, I guess, has been going on for a while. But I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of penis jokes, if I'm being honest. And there's nothing wrong with penis jokes. Everyone likes a good penis joke. It was a little much for me. That's just my opinion. Take it or leave it.
There's actually zero penis jokes. It was
It's
testicle
all about
jokes.
his masturbation, and he repopulated the world. But I guess they're in close proximity. You
Right.
need one with the other.
Okay, they're so close. I get it.
It was it was in the theme. If we were phrasing that chapter of your comedy novel,
Yes.
it was, I guess, sex things.
There you
And speaking of sex things, I also had questions about. This is going to be like one of those things where it's like only in the context of like having a feedback mic would these quotes make sense. But I had questions about like, what about your nipples? I'm like, you can see nipples anytime you want. I liked the comparison to game
Okay,
console,
never mind.
and I liked the whole debating the existence of women bit. That was probably, to me, the strongest part of your set, with the whole engineering bit. And then trying to read my notes. The May 2nd, 2011, I thought was funny, kind of comparing them together. But yeah, I don't know if there's just like a way to like intersperse some differently themed jokes within that to break it up. And I know it sounds contradictory to what I've been saying all night as far as like, I like to try and like keep stuff on the same topic, but I think it's just like that specific one. I just feel like because the comedy market is already oversaturated with penis jokes. It's got to be a really good one if it's going to get me.
Hard. Sorry. I had to-
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Anyway, that's it from me. Take it away.
Made you mad, Tom. I'm so sorry.
Nope, you didn't make me mad.
I don't know. Maybe I thought it was a lot of fun. The train station joke I really really enjoyed. It got me. It was like a thinker in a different way, and it started off like I kind of didn't know where you were gonna go with the rest of the set, which I always like a sort of like ooh, because you could really go anywhere with it, and then. And so I thought that was fun because I like how you introduce it with the two ideas, the two people in your head, and then get in the station. I thought that was really set up well. And then you go and you eventually go into the dating, the 5-7. I've discovered it is invisibility. Like there are all these things that come. That was awesome. The dating app, your 5-7. Go into your dating, like sort of revealing that. I like that you keep it really personal and sort of talking about your own experience. And then going into the nipple thing, which I think that, and maybe this is where, and I see what Tom was saying a little bit about like how going to the masturbation joke. I think that there's a way to. It's not that because as a female, I'm like, oh yeah, masturbation. It's like it's I don't know. I think there's a way to tighten it just a little bit. I loved how you we're the human race that only we know. I liked that like little tagline at the end because it sort of buttons it up. I don't know. There's just a way I feel like to snip it. No, it's to just make it a little bit more compact, and then you can get to all the other stuff too with like the nipple stuff, which I think is funny. Nipples, because you don't think about that when you're talking about like a sexual organs and things like that, because that's where I feel like you going to the nipples, you're like, oh, the nipples, yes, and that the Saturn thing. So because I think you put different perspectives on either body parts but or ideas also that wouldn't come in the whole salesman thing. Vegas can't get laid. Even there, I don't know. I feel like because when I've been to Vegas, and if you have enough money, you can get laid. So I don't know if there's a joke there. If you have enough money. But I enjoyed the whole the segue, was it going to the 40-year-old virgin and how you made that sort of and the engineer, the Sasquatch one was the debate, like in going from schooling, was awesome. I thought that landed, I think, really well. And stuff like that. So it's like you have these thinkers, and it sort of has like a baseline of something we're talking about, something sort of like more not base humor, of more like sexual, but then you throw in a lot of smart quips or ideas about it, and I appreciate that. 40-year-old virgin thing I like. The May 2nd, you said you didn't have anywhere to go with the 9/11 thing, like you were gonna do for your first kiss. Yeah, that's hard. And I'm gonna say, even as a 9/11 jokes are just, it's like suicide's almost better than the 9/11 jokes.
It's funny how the punchline became that I don't have.
Yeah, that you don't have
like
it. Yeah,
people don't see it coming in a way.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm content with it the same way. Like, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I wasn't sure if you were asking for it like there. I was just like, oh yeah, it's funny because that is still a subject that, I don't know. There's a lot of other things, like the insurrection is so much easier to talk about. So that just happened. But the whole Bin Laden hell thing was funny. I like, you're very like, it almost feels like a podcast kind of feel with the way you have your setup, and how you have this big mic, and you're sort of, as you'd make this joke, like a smaller guy, it's like this big mic, and then all the little things behind you. And I assume that these were all a specific choice, that you're showing these all off. Which I enjoy, but I want you to know that people are going to be making, their eyes are going to go to that at points and look at that. Like I noticed that your screenshot of like your picture when you're not on video isn't behind you in the background, like things like that. And I love that if that's your choice. I just wanted to make you aware of like, you want them. And if you ever make topical references to something behind you, that it's there. I don't know if that's like a layer that you have or not, but I enjoy that and know that's a possibility. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Liza. Thank you, Lisa.
Cool. Keep it going for Sam Taha, and we're gonna move on now to our final comic of the evening. Please give it up all the way from Maine, AJ Capuccio. Woo 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 woo.
Hello, thank you. Your city's being gentrified if you know where the public piano is, but not the public bathrooms. It takes a lot of confidence to use either one. Even more to do both at the same time. But you gotta do what you gotta do to own the yuppies. You got bile in my latte. I haven't had very much musical confidence myself ever since someone ripped the guitar out of my hands mid-strum to tune it for me. But I appreciated it. I haven't had very much culinary faith in myself either, ever since I tried making peanut noodles by putting a glob of Skippy in some ramen. Gato, my gato wouldn't even go near it. My boyfriend asked if I ever took home ec. No, that's for dummies. I took advanced geometry because I'm an intellectual. I used to struggle with confidence a lot. I used to piss my pants. Now I piss confidence. My crotch is still wet, but for a different reason. I would obsessively check the door to make sure it's locked. Now I just leave it wide open so I can fight whatever motherfucker dares enters my alpha dome. I used to hold conversations like there are 5 cups of soda and no tray. Now I hold conversations, no holds bar, while holding up the bar while having a conversation with the bartender about holding bars. He's my gym buddies. Before, I was worried about not doing the workouts right and everyone there judging me. Now, I just slam weights around like no one's business. And sir, would you like instruction from one of our fitness? No! It's not the clothes that make the man, but the express socks that match the team uniform make you feel confident, then fuck what the rest of the rugby team says. My gas tank was near empty, but I knew I could make it to the next town. I refused to be gaslighted. I thought competence was a fake business meeting word. You know, I'm confident, I'm competent. My writing is very punctual. I have enough synergy to work all day. Confidence is all you have when you don't have competence. When you don't know how to do something, you should really know how to do it by now, like Microsoft Excel. You know, I'm like, I can change the cells, but I can't wrap text. I'm kind of like Tekashi 6ix9ine. That's kind of all the jokes I've written. I'm not going to waste these last 90 seconds. I'm just going to rant. Being in the LGBT community and not knowing all the things in it, like pansexualism until more recently, it's kind of like rooting for a sports team, but not knowing how the sport is played. You're just there to cheer on, and you're just happy to be there. Speaking of cheering when everyone else is, the acts I took part in at the Washington football team game does not reflect my values. 30 seconds. I might have something else. I struggled with autism, but I didn't get diagnosed until late. My parents didn't want me to be labeled. That's like we knew you had cancer, but you'd be real ugly if you had no hair. All right. Yep, that's it.
All right.
Cool, cool, cool. Give it up for AJ, everybody. Woo, 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 woo. And here we go. Awesome. I'm just going to close this out since you were our last comic. Make the screen a little bit more... Well, didn't make it more even, but whatever. Okay, so... I mean, it's hard to give feedback just because I feel like it was a lot of one-liners back-to-back, which is fine. But I thought the pacing was a little bit too quick and there was a little bit too much jumping around of subjects that it was hard to kind of keep up with what you were talking about at times. I thought there were definitely some strong moments in there. Actually some of my favorite stuff was at the end, like the labeling joke that you had literally as your last joke, and then the stuff about LGBT community. I thought that was like the strongest premise and like could be developed more into something, and just wasn't there yet. I thought the like gaslighted was a good pun, but I just didn't necessarily see a story in your set And I know that, like, it is a style for comedians to just do, like, one-liner after the other.
Well, can I remind you that I'm trying to do the contest. I just need 90 seconds.
Yeah.
It was just a whole bunch of things, and I just want you.
Yeah,
Like,
that
what's
is
the
helpful
best
to
90
remind me
seconds?
of that. AJ is working on 90 seconds specifically for a contest that he's doing.
In the
But
word
I
of
don't think that and I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but I think that 90 seconds of, like, some of the material that you've done on this show before may be a better route to go. I don't know if that's, like, in the rules of the contest, but I also don't know the rules of the contest. I don't know the
rules of the
context
contest-
of what you're doing.
Right. So
I
the
could only try and give you notes on what you just did.
All right. Well, the rules of the contest, the whole point of the contest is that you're writing new stuff.
Okay.
So I'm trying to be honest with, like, this is new, this is specific for the contest. We're given a one-word thing, a one-word prompt. The word is confident for.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you noticed the reoccurring theme of confidence throughout.
I did not.
I did.
Really?
There was a
Lisa
big
did. And comedy's subjective.
median part of that was about the confidence and pissing and piss confidence. Like, I remember that. I thought it worked. I mean, I feel like you can expand or cut, like, I feel like there is a way to either book mark that more, or, you know, showcase that more in between maybe other bits. But you can go further with I think what happened is a little bit of not knowing the rules of all the comedy. I remember that you had the 90-second thing. So I realized, like, you're probably giving us, like, the one-liners to get in to see your all the stuff that you've just produced, which is great. That you can keep just creating. But I think that maybe it's just about the I don't know if the focus is about the transitions between the jokes as much, because what happened is I think you were trying to get in as much as you could, that sometimes I lost the train of thought, so I would lose the punchline of the joke. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize about that. I
mean,
was about that thing.
I don't have
I
time to
just
tell a
don't
story
really-
in 90 seconds, though.
But also, I am not going to be able to give you the type of feedback you're looking for if I don't know the whole context of whatever the contest you're doing is beforehand. And honestly, I don't even know if it would make that much of a difference. I appreciate that you're, trying out new stuff, and I know that, you put yourself in a vulnerable place when you write new jokes and you ask for feedback on it. I get that, but at the same time, I'm not here to, like, just compliment you if I don't think that the jokes are super strong. And
Yes.
It's nothing against you. We're here to grow, but also, if you're not going to listen when somebody gives you a critique, then, like, I'm not going to give it. Nobody has to listen to me. And you can take what I say with a grain of salt and just keep doing your thing. And who knows, maybe they'll really love it and you'll be really successful. And I honestly hope that that's the case. Because I want everybody who comes onto this show to be successful and to be really funny. But also, when you respond to my feedback by kind of jumping down my throat and telling me all these rules for the contest that there's no way I could have possibly known beforehand, then it's going to make me not want to give you feedback.
All right.
I do remember the contest, that you had a contest, and I assumed it was something very condensed because it was 90 seconds. But I can hear that the contents of the 5 minutes, having trying to help you narrow it down, it can be harder for us because we've been looking at the general arc of things. So I did at the end of the night. I know it's hard. You waited the whole night, so go to the end. I want to encourage you to just keep riffing, because I think there's a lot of good things in there, and either expounding on them if you want to. I think what you need to make the decision of what you want that 90 seconds to be, whatever that is, be it do you want it to be one long big joke at the end? Do you want it to be a bunch of zingers? What I would recommend with all of that, because I know I've seen this material and before, you have some great stuff. And this is and I would say, like, this is wanted this to be a safe space so that everyone, because everyone here tonight made themselves vulnerable in a way that is really, really hard. And comedy's hard enough, and that you guys are putting yourselves, and also as Tom and I we're vulnerable too, because we're trying to, you know, give back a little bit and hopefully help, because I love to hopefully be helpful to others, but to laugh. And in this comedy, I love comedy so much. So I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Tom, because this is when things become, let's say, like we've talked about some difficult subjects tonight and awkward or in moments. This is the moment where we can say, okay, what am I going to do with that? And how do I make that funny? And how do I take that in and, make it better for myself, whatever that is. And sometimes it's saying, I don't want to listen to that. And sometimes it's saying I do. So for me, if confidence is the word that you really want to hone into on and see how much of that makes a difference in winning this contest, then focus on those jokes for you and build on those, and make that more of a, because obviously Tom didn't hear it. So that means that it didn't resonate. It resonates differently. So if you want to make that the main point, then do it. I liked the public piano thing a lot when you started with, because you know where the gentrification, if you know where that public piano is, because also I live in a town that has a public piano and I know exactly where that is. And I think the confidence thing, you can either build it, build your confidence, and or you can dismiss it. I think that if that's your theme and that's your word, because I've done it sort of like I've done one. Has anyone ever done like the 24-hour play where we get a word or we get a concept, and I've made a film in 24 hours. I've done theater in 24 hours. Sometimes getting so tied into that, if it's not useful to you, you can figure another way in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So because I feel like sometimes when we're given rules or an objective and then we're fitting it into a different format, that's not always going to be as successful as we need. So that being said, that maybe at this point, I feel bad that if this wasn't the best medium to figure out what that material would be. But I do want to say that I think there's stuff in there. I think the strongest stuff, and I will agree with Tom tonight, was the autism joke, the labeling. I think that's funny. And maybe is there a joke to go in there for confidence that way? I don't know. Like the gaslight thing, I really enjoyed the pun, but I think with 90 seconds, and this is the danger of really short sets. And I know 5 minutes is even short, but the danger of short sets is sort of like you get so focused on the time, you can lose your rhythm, and we can lose your train of thought. And I think that's essential, just as much as getting as jokes in 90 seconds. Maybe it's not necessarily the quantity, but that you either follow through on what you're really a successful big joke that pays off with some minor things in it, because 90 seconds, you have to have a very specific idea, a very specific goal with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I hope that's helpful, and I think that there are building blocks to be here, but and beyond, like, be it a concept of you talking about the LBG thing or the autism thing. I think that maybe it's taking one of those subjects where you have a really strong foundation or basis joke and branching from that for those 90 seconds, because it was easy for me, even though I knew you were like rolling off for material, to lose track so that I missed the joke before you were on to the next one. And I don't want that to happen to you, because 90 seconds is it's like a game show of fucking comedy. And that's hard. Comedy's hard enough. Let's throw a game show element onto you, entertain me 90 seconds. It's like when you're doing auditions, I don't know if anyone's ever gone to versus stand comedy. My background's in theater, that like literally you have like, I've had 2 minutes, and if I go over, it's like they cut you off and they're pulling the hook off of you. And I want to make sure that you always give yourself a couple seconds room on either end. That's what I would say too, for breathing room. So that's where I'm at. I think that part of it is just making sure we all have the same goals, because whatever you need, we want to try and help give you good, useful feedback. And, sometimes it's like we said, and I know Tom always starts this off with, is that comedy is super freaking subjective. So thank you for you guys, because with just all of you tonight, very different rhythms, very different points of view, very different styles. And that just shows how much 90 seconds can do. That makes sense. And I would always, they'll say this for wedding speeches and for auditions, start strong. So start with your thing, like, that's a hook that you'll get them right in.
Cool. Awesome. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and take us out. Here we go. Big thank you to my co-host Liza, to the comedians for being so open to feedback, and of course to our awesome audience. Again, if you want to support the stream, you can do so at district-comedy.live, or hit that share, like, or subscribe button. And if you want to be on the show, you can sign up using the link in the episode description. See you next week, and have a good